and welcome to our Pharma Talk session focused on pharmacist product recommendations. And my name's D'Arcy Vaughn. I'm a Vice President of Pharmacy Retail Operations for Health Mart. I'm a pharmacist myself and work in the Southeast United States with our pharmacy sales consultants, who are your direct representatives, and also with store owners. And we really talk about that we're a consultant for all of the McKesson solutions. So we're here to provide you information and tap you into both McKesson resources and also some of the other preferred vendors that we work with to make sure that you have a thriving business. So today we're talking to Matt Colvin of Brindley's Pharmacy in Alabama, and he's going to share with us about product recommendations. So Matt, would you first start off by introducing yourself a bit?
Yes, thank you, D'Arcy. My name's Matt Colvin. I'm a pharmacist manager of operations at Brindley's Family Pharmacy, and we're a vital care infusion as well in Albertville, Alabama. It's a town in northeast Alabama, about 30,000 people, so that's kind of our demographics. I graduated back in the 1900s, actually in spring of 1999. I was fortunate enough to actually get into my own pharmacy within just a few months of graduating. Owned and operated it for about 16 years, sold out. After that, I did pharmacy work, but also did some real estate investing, some sports training, dabbled in a few different things. And about 4.5 years ago, a young man who is building a new pharmacy in Albertville needed someone to help him run his retail operations. And so I've been with them for about 4.5 years.
Okay, great. So it sounds like a lot of experience there.
Yeah.
Wait till this one.
You're welcome.
The life of being on a live stage with, in a conference, but that's okay. But so we're talking about pharmacist product recommendations, and for so long, pharmacy was a really receptive business where we opened our doors and we allowed customers to come in and present us with a prescription. So thinking about making pharmacist recommendations, this is sometimes a little bit of a different territory for us. So how would you say we would start to make this entree?
I think you have to develop a mindset before you go into making these recommendations of what you're going to do. If you're looking for something specific, start with a mindset. The first thing I think pharmacists and pharmacies need to work on is not being afraid to change. Innovation is good. I think a lot of our pharmacies are busy, and we don't want to step out and do new things. We need to look at our pharmacies from like a 10,000-foot view and really analyze what you've got going on, because I believe it's important to not only recruit new business, new patients, new customers, but we need to be continually recruiting the ones who are already existing with us. So I think there's two key elements when you're looking at products and services you want to begin recommending. The first thing is it needs to be individualistic to your pharmacy. I can tell you what works in mine. I can tell you some things that I think are going to work in mine that we're going to innovate soon. But I can't tell you that specifically for your own. So that's why we have to start with a mindset of asking ourselves, what do my demographics need? What are those specific things that reach my people? The second thing you always want to look for is a win-win situation. And what is a win-win situation? A win-win situation is a positive outcome for the patient, as well as a profitable transaction or billable item for the pharmacy. But that's not the only type of win-win situation. Always in win-win situations, it's going to be a positive outcome for the patient. But sometimes that transaction or that billable item may not come with much of a profit. It may be break even. But it is something you want to search for if it builds loyalty to your pharmacy or builds trust for other opportunities that could come down the road in the future. For example, I may have a patient that needs a specific item and says, can you get this for me? I'm getting it at this store for whatever price. Well, that's my cost. Absolutely, I can get it for you because you need the item for your health. I'm going to bring you into my pharmacy and show you that I care, show you what I can do for you, and you're going to hang around, and I may have other opportunities to get win-win situations down the road.
Okay, so speaking of opportunities, we're at trade show.
Yes.
There's a full hall of different opportunities that potentially you could tap into. Like, what are some avenues that you've pursued that have worked for you, or that you would recommend starting with first?
Okay. When you want to start strategizing of what do I want to add, what are these new things that I want to do, I think there's 3 avenues you can look down. It's what we do in our store, and it's an in-house over-the-counter recommendation, it's a in-house prescription recommendation, or it's a remote opportunity. So I'm going to give you some examples of things we've done that we've seen be successful. These may work in your store, they may not. One of the first for the in-house recommendations are probiotics. This is a fantastic opportunity to meet a need. We started this, I believe, winter before last. We were seeing a lot of patients come through with antibiotic prescriptions, as we normally do. And if a patient has ever had an adverse event from an antibiotic, and probably everyone here could raise their hand that you have, a probiotic can stop that. So we began at the point of contact of every antibiotic prescription saying, would you be interested in this? Would you have interest in a probiotic? The normal response was, why? Well, have you ever had an adverse reaction? Have you ever had, gut issues from an antibiotic? When patients say yes, they will listen. If they haven't, it's an opportunity to educate and potentially service that patient. So probiotics are the first thing that we did that was rather successful. Another is all natural products. We have an all-natural product line of bug spray. I know that sounds like not much, but we have people come in that don't get prescriptions that come just for that. One of these days, they could potentially need a prescription. They now trust us. But these are all natural items, and we know in this day and time that people want to stay away from all the chemicals as much as we can that we're putting on our bodies and in our bodies. It's packaged very nicely, it smells great, and it works. So the patient gets the positive outcome they want, bug repellent. They get it in an all-natural item, and then we have an item that we can sell that increases our revenue. Then the third thing we do in-house is point-of-care testing and wellness screens. Now, depending on your state laws, it can vary from state to state. But in our state, in state of Alabama, all state employees can get a wellness screen once a year. All they have to do is walk in. We don't have to set an appointment. They can walk in. Our trained technician can sit down with them, spend 30 minutes, submit that to their state insurance. We get paid for it. They get a reduction, which is a positive outcome for them, in their insurance premium just by getting this done once a year. Now, I do like to throw the disclaimer out there. Depending on what state you're on, make sure the rules and regulations are right. Figure out how to bill it. We also advertise point-of-care testing, which I hope most of us are doing now, where you can come in, do flu, COVID testing. We do not collaborate at this time beyond that. But we do work with physicians. Many of them know we do this, and in their busy times in the winter, we will do this, send the result to them. They will then just give the patient a phone call, have a televisit, and it saves an office visit. So positive outcomes both for the patient and a positive outcome for the pharmacy. So those are over-the-counter recommendations. In-house for prescriptions, we try to focus every prescription that comes through and ask ourselves, what might the patient need if they start taking this? Prime example is antibiotics. It's easy to know that there's certain population bases that may need an antifungal if they take an antibiotic. So we make those recommendations. The big one, though, that we do a lot of is I like to call it all things diabetes. If you have a diabetic patient, the service that you can give them is to say, can I talk to you for a minute? What issues are you having with your diabetes? I saw a statistic, and I actually heard someone speaking earlier over here about it, that I don't remember the percentage of Americans with diabetes, but they're now estimating that close to 49% of Americans either have diabetes or prediabetes. So this is not going away unless there's some miracle cure that comes along tomorrow, and I don't think that's happening. There's going to be opportunities to work with your diabetic patients. What can you do with them? CGMs, SOCs, glucose emergency recommendations. The list goes on and on and on. And a 10-minute conversation with a diabetic patient will almost always afford you an opportunity to recommend something that will improve their outcomes, as well as give you an opportunity for a service. And then the last thing, I hope all of our pharmacies are doing immunizations and vaccines now. I think most pharmacies do flu shots, but we need to be expanding those. We carry a large line of vaccinations and immunizations now. The biggest reason that I've heard other pharmacies say they won't carry certain things is because of cost, and I get that. There are some things that come in bulk that you're afraid will die in the refrigerator. Here's what you do. You pick up the phone and you call your neighboring pharmacies who aren't doing it either, and you say, we will offer this for your patients. Send them to us. If you don't want to carry it, I'm letting you know that we carry it. So we're now carrying a few extra things that we didn't in the past, because we know pharmacy B, C, and D, when their patient comes in, they want to service them. Go over there, they'll take care of you this time. We don't try to steal the patient. We have good relationships. But we do offer that opportunity for that service. And the other thing we do with that is, in the fall, everyone's looking to push flu shots. Look at their immunization record. There's so much you can piggyback on top of that, which again improves outcomes and is a great service for the pharmacy. And then thirdly, that we recommend are remote opportunities. Anybody here do flu clinics? They go outside. You guys do flu clinics. Is that all you do, is flu clinic? Or do you just take flu shot when you go? Pneumonia, some other things. Expand those opportunities. Are you doing them with, give me an example, like what type of industry are you doing? Manufacturing plant. Okay, I'm gonna throw one at you that we do, because you're not gonna impede on our space, I don't think. Where are you located? Oh, that's okay, that's okay. I'll still share it with you. Recently, we have an industry that employs 2,500 people probably, or more locally, way more nationally. And we've been doing their flu clinics. The person that's over it for the industry came to me and said, I got a question for you. Would you be interested? Sorry. Would you be interested in doing hepatitis B vaccines for us? We now are having to do OSHA bloodborne pathogen training for all of our employees, and we're finding out that many of these have never had hepatitis B vaccinations. I said, let me think about that for a minute. Yes, we will. It did not take long. I've just finished my first 6-month rotation, and we've had about 18 patients that we've been able to give 3 vaccinations over the last 6 months. They're about to do another training. So what these remote opportunities do is they allow you to have a conversation. I'm going to touch on that in a minute, on building relationships and how that can piggyback and continue to grow. They are now asking us about other possibilities to come do service projects there with their patients. And the next thing you know, it'll be like what's happened to us. I've seen a couple of those people walk in our pharmacy and say, hey, we liked what y'all did. We'd like to move our prescriptions over to you guys. That is a win-win situation in that circumstance.
So Matt, from talking to you, I can kind of see that you're a can-do, confident guy, right? But how do you bring your staff along with you, the pharmacists that work in the stores with you, your technicians, and even, to portray the services that could be recommended, and so that the patients really receive them well and are confident in the ability of the store to fulfill those recommendations?
I believe it all starts with relationships. And it's kind of threefold. You as the pharmacist, you need to have a relationship with the patients you're serving. I know it's busy. I know it gets crazy. But a 10-second conversation repetitively over and over and over builds confidence in that patient to what you recommend. So one, pharmacist to patient. We need to be building those relationships. The second is employee to patient. We must be training our employees on how to speak with the customers, how to greet them. One of our biggest sticklers, if you want to get the ones in management a little uproared, is let somebody walk in the door and then walk up to the front counter and nobody even bat an eye at them. I think that is very bad business practice. So we train our new employees. You don't know their names yet, but if you do, you say their name because it feels much better. What's your name, sir? Randy? So, Randy, if you walk into my pharmacy and I go, hey, what's up? That makes you feel one way. But if I go, hey, Randy, what's going on, man? It's a whole different outlook for a patient. Now, we're busy. We don't understand that as we're working and the phone's ringing and I've got 18 audits and I've got all this stuff going on. But if I want Randy to trust what I recommend for him, if I want Randy to trust me saying, Randy, you need this according to what we see in your prescription profile, Randy needs to know that I know Randy. Excuse me. Because when we know people, it's easier to communicate and we trust them. So, pharmacist to patient, employee to patient, but also pharmacist to employee. We must have a good relationship with our employees so that we can coach them along the way. I witnessed one of our employees try to explain something. I'm trying to remember what they were talking about. I don't remember exactly, but she didn't know what she was talking about. It was, yeah. And I looked at the patient, and the patient's eyes were just wandering around, and I knew it was disconnected. It really wasn't the employee's fault. We had not trained her well enough. I need to have a relationship, and I stepped in, coached her along, and now I'm continuing to coach her on things on how to communicate. So we must train our employees to be confident. In speaker training, and even in the notes they sent me in this, it says know your material. Because the number one factor in getting someone to know and trust you in what you're saying is you got to know what you're talking about. Good example is this employee that we had was completely lost. She's only been with us a few months. I get it. She was really, really confused. A little bit later, I heard her talking about something her and her friends did, and she was just rattling off and so confident. The reason she sounded so confident was because she knew what she was talking about. She was familiar with it. Familiarity, I hate that word, but I have to use it, with what they're communicating to your patient is vital. So if they don't know how to do it, if they're not trained, have them step back and have somebody that it is. Because if not, you could potentially have a patient walk away and you miss a win-win opportunity, which costs the pharmacy, but it also costs your patient as well.
Yeah, it's that age-old scenario where a patient will come up and ask the technician something, and then the technician will say, and then the patient kind of like, well, is that right? And then come back and ask the pharmacist the exact same question, and the pharmacist will say the exact same thing, but with the confidence, it's portrayed completely different.
With the probiotic example, we trained our register staff for what do you do when they go, why do I need this? No, you don't say that. You say because you can have adverse effects in your gut flora, your stomach. You know, use terms that they'll understand. So the pharmacist thinks that it might be a good idea for you to have it. Sell, right there. And that patient very likely prevented an adverse outcome and very likely prevented another visit to the physician.
Very good, very good. Okay, so we've got the items that we're thinking about recommending. We've got our staff trained and confident and feeling good. Maybe what are some results or return on investment that you could see from implementing some of these solutions you're talking about?
We have seen major gain in doing these. By taking that mindset I was telling you and finding what we feel like we can thrive in, we have seen customer base and loyalty increase. One example that I shared with her previously is we have the infusion side, and I work in CGMs. I get a phone call from the other side of the pharmacy the other day that says, I've got a patient on an infusion, and her husband's having a hard time getting his CGM. Can you help him? I called, and immediately she said, they do such a good job over there. We want to know if you can do this. We can. We now are. So we've seen an increase in customer base off that. And I've seen actually the flip side. I was reviewing a CGM chart, reading they were about to start an infusion on the patient who's been my CGM patient for over a year. Picked up the phone, called. I said, let me ask you this. Do you know where you're going to be getting this? We can in-house infuse you here. They're local. I don't know yet, but you guys do that? Absolutely, we do that. Well, if y'all do it, then I definitely want to get it there. So that's the positive result we've seen on our end. And for the patient, now they're getting everything in the same place. Now, she didn't have to drive 45 minutes to go get her infusion. She drove 3 minutes. So it's a win-win situation for everyone. Sure is.
Anything else we haven't touched on yet that you want to make sure we do before we open it up for questions?
What I like to encourage, I like to say you can do this. I always go back to the fact that I know it gets busy, I know it gets crazy. Don't be afraid to be unique and try to thrive. Be unique. Find out from a 10,000-foot view. Look at yourself. Step out of your pharmacy. Look at your customer base. What do they need? What can I provide? What is it? Find that niche that fits you and go after it. Build relationships. Employers, patients, employees. Relationships are the key to any successful pharmacy. I know Dale's been around pharmacy for like 75 years. He's a lot older than he looks. He's been around a long time. And he can tell you the stores that exist and thrive are the ones that have the relationships. If you want to be successful in recommending services and products, you have to have the relationship. And then lastly, what I always like to say is don't be afraid. I kind of got an example. If you don't take the shot, you're not going to win. I'm a big basketball guy, love basketball. Son plays, played a lot. If anybody watched the Final Four this last year, Duke and Houston got in the Final Four. They got down to the last set, and Houston had one opportunity to beat Duke, and they didn't take the shot. Guess what? You lose every time you don't take the shot. So don't be afraid. Try something different and go after it.
I love it. I love it. So now is the time when we open it up to you, and the Pharma Talk time it's really important that you are able to ask questions of Matt, who's been so successful and is sharing today. So please, any question that you have, what do you have for us? Come on, I know there's going to be a few.
It's okay. I've seen groups of 300 the same way.
All right. Well, they're the shots you don't take, so.
Oh, man. Well, I was born back, I graduated in 1999, independent pharmacy. I got into, I believe it was July of 1999, so 26 years ago. I graduated in the spring, got my license. 3 months later, I had my own store. So I learned to sink or swim real fast. Fortunately, it was a dying store, so I had some time to get my wheels under me. Maintained that store for 16 years. I think we went up about 6 times in sales over that amount of time. Sold it. My kids were coming through school. I said, I want to do something different, and it's okay to change. And I will tell you that in your pharmacies, it's okay to change, do things different. Did part-time pharmacy while I did some things outside of pharmacy, and now I am managing operations of the retail side. We do retail pharmacy in a 30,000 person small town, North Alabama, and we have a vital care infusion as well as a pretty extensive compounding. So that's me.
Anyone else? I love that recommendation for the niche natural bug spray. Is there any other niche things that you're thinking about getting into next?
I can't tell you. It's like you have to sign an NDA. No, I'm just kidding. Not necessarily at this moment when it comes to over-the-counter items, because our store, we have a fair over-the-counter area, but not an extensive. And we're doing more things on the RX side at the moment where we kind of feel a little bit maxed out there, but could have some changes coming. Again, we're not afraid to change. We will roll with what's going on.
I like it. Keep it fresh.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, thank you so much for sharing with our group today. Really appreciate it. If you want to go ahead and give them a round of applause, love to hear that. And for those of you that had questions but just didn't want to ask them publicly, we'll have Matt over here to the side afterwards, so you can ask him off to the side if you wish. Thanks for joining us, and this is our last Pharma Talk for this evening, so I hope you all have a very nice evening tonight. Thank you.
Thank y'all.